We're getting ready to get started. My name is Selma Uranga. I'm with the development team here at the National Museum of Mexican Art. Thank you all for coming tonight. So tonight we have Eric Garcia presenting 60 cartoons in 60 minutes. Tonight's program is part of Memoria Presente, which is our current exhibition, which celebrates the museum's 30th anniversary. So Memoria Presente includes the works of 30 local artists that are tackling current and contemporary issues. If you guys haven't checked it out, we invite you to do so. Tuesday through Sunday. And so just two things we want you to save the date for. Our next program, which is part of Memoria Presente, is our running tour with Miguel Penguin Aguilar, who is right here, front and center. And so that's happening on July 29th at 10 a.m. So also taking place on July 29th is the Poetry Block Party. And we're presenting that with the Poetry Foundation and Crescendo Literary. And we are taking over the whole block from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so all are welcome for spoken word. We're going to have DJs, art activities, and all kinds of fun stuff. Piñatas, possibly a jumpy house, maybe. We have the Sonorama DJs and all kinds of stuff. So we invite you to join us for that. And without further ado is Eric Garcia.
Thank you, Selma, and thank everyone for coming out tonight on this beautiful, beautiful evening. I was sweating it yesterday with all the rain that was coming down. I thought we were going to get flooded out. I thought we were going to have to move in, and we weren't going to be outside, but God blessed us today with a beautiful, beautiful day. You couldn't beat a perfect evening like this, so thank everyone that came out. Thank the National Museum of Mexican Art for letting me have this opportunity to do this. 30 years, the National Museum of Mexican Art have been here. So it's a special thing, especially right now when a lot of other cultural institutions are coming down here in the neighborhood. Today we're gonna try to do 60 cartoons in 60 minutes. I've had this idea for a while now, ever since I'd seen photographs of Teatro Campesino. If you're not familiar, Teatro Campesino is a theater group that used to work with the United Farm Workers out in California, and they used to literally go in the back of a truck, park there in the campo, in the fields where the farm workers were working, and would do a little theater, but not just for the sake of art, but with a political content behind it. And I always thought that was super interesting idea to have the art come to the public. I thought that was an excellent idea. I'm always interested in the art breaking free from the gallery space. I think that's why I've been doing political cartoons for the past 13 years, because I like my cartoons to live outside of these institutions. I like them to be in people's homes. I like people to find them accidentally in the newspaper. I like them to be in the public sphere, because my artwork doesn't do anything. It doesn't work unless it's actually engaging with an audience. That's what I love to do. That's what my artwork is about informing, educating, agitating, all that stuff. So thank you again for coming out tonight. Without further ado, I guess I'm going to start. So counting off now, it should be an hour-long take from this point on. So let's hit it. I'm going to start off, and this cartoons, these are going to get brighter and brighter as the evening gets darker and darker. So bear with the lighting situation. But anyways, I wanted to start out with something funny, because most of my cartoons, or the remainder of my cartoons, are pretty depressing. So I wanted to start off with something funny. Yeah, even though they're called cartoons, you know, my politics is kind of harsh. So anyway, this was inspired by my beautiful wife, who's always making these exquisite dinners for me. And then one day I said very sarcastically to her, "You're like the Mexican Rick Bayless." You know? And I had this inspiration, wow, I should make that into a cartoon. So I have here this abuelita serving her family, and the kids are you know, Rick Bayless is one of the world-renowned chefs that has capitalized on Mexican cuisine, right? So it's the irony of my wife being like the best Mexican, right? She's like Rick Bayless, who is a white guy who specializes in Mexican cuisine. It's just irony. And I thought it'd be a perfect Divas cartoon, and this is very different from what I usually do. A lot of my politics, a lot of my cartoons deal with really harsh messages of Uncle Sam and stuff like that, and a lot of cartoons deal with like more historical elements as well. I like to talk about things that happened in the past because the past is always still relevant to who we are right now in the present and where we're going in the future. For instance, this is Lucy Gonzalez Parsons. If many of you are not familiar with her, you should be, because Lucy Gonzalez Parsons is an important figure in Chicago history. She was born in Texas, Tejana. She was of mixed race, of African American, of Native American, and Mexican. She eventually married a man named Albert Parsons, and they had to flee actually from Texas to live in Chicago because of their mixed race marriage. So while they were here in Chicago, they were radicals, they were anarchists, and they're the ones that fought for the 8-hour workday. They fought for labor rights. They fought for the rights that we continue to have to this day that we might take for granted. Maybe like lunch, maybe like overtime, weekends. People like Lucy Parsons was intricate in that struggle, in that fight for our labor issues. Now, it's not only history that I like to present, but also issues that are not given the spotlight, the well-deserved spotlight. For instance, did you know a couple of years ago there was a terrible racist phenomenon going on in the Deep South where 8 black churches were burned? Did people hear about this issue? It might have gotten lost in the headlines. There is these different African American community churches that were being burned in the South, one right after another. People were not talking about it. People were more concerned with the euro and the European economic crisis, which got all the attention. As you can see on the sands there, he's actually distracting the media, pointing now to the crisis that he's really concerned with. And the churches are being ignored. Unfortunately, right underneath our noses, these political situations are happening and not given their time and date. And this, I don't know if you can see this very clearly, this is Colin Kaepernick, who is, I'm a big fan of Colin Kaepernick. I'm not a 49ers fan, but he is a person, a football player that I'm inspired by, because he actually has been sitting down during the national anthem for the football, every football game for the past couple of seasons. He won't stand, and why would he? I don't know if you guys can see, I don't know if it's bright enough for you, but Uncle Sam is actually shielding with the flag what's actually happening of the burning church, lynching, Ku Klux Klan member, and then we have the infamous situation with Eric Garner, who was choked to death by the police officers. And why would Colin Kaepernick be standing for a flag that represents all these things that Uncle Sam is trying to hide from us? This cartoon was actually rejected from an editor of mine because he said it wasn't relevant. It was outdated. It was made in 2016, so the Bush administration had been long gone, but they're still alive. These terrorists, these war criminals are still amongst us. They're living. It's not like I was trying to mock Andrew Jackson and the genocide of the Native Americans. These people are still among us. They still live with us, and they should still be held accountable. Rumsfeld, Bush, Cheney, they're all part of the disastrous situation that's happening in the Middle East. They're the ones that caused the unjust, unlawful war in Iraq, which created ISIS and created this monstrous situation in the Middle East and even further from the Middle East and beyond. As you can see, Uncle Sam here, he's mixing the pot. He has his blender in the bowl of Iraq, and he's stirring it up, and he's creating chaos. And from that bowl of Iraq, all these different issues are spewing out. This is what's happening as we speak. All these different people are fleeing the war zones, immigration, refugees, and they're bringing along with them different issues of Islam, and there's also ISIS being poured out into different countries now. Death and destruction has been poured out because of the United States involvement in the Middle East. So because the United States putting their hands in these pots where they shouldn't be, which caused this greater chaos that we live amongst. And of course, the Western world, the Europeans, have become Islamophobic. They become crazy, scared of what's going on. This is an interesting take on the situation of the United States has been in Iraq for all these years, and they have no intentions of leaving. It's like the friend of yours that comes to stay a couple of nights, but then overstays his welcome, and he has his dirty feet on the couch. He's just there drinking up all your oil. He's clogged the toilet, but doesn't has no intention of fixing it. Sitting on the couch watching TV, and not getting up, getting ready to leave. This is the situation in Iraq. We have the world's biggest embassy ever built in the history of the world, situated in Iraq. There is no time that I can see us leaving that country. We're building the empire bigger and bigger every time we go to a new place, every time our military strikes out into a new place. And why is that? What happened in the past that made us come to Iraq? Well, it wasn't bin Laden. Osama bin Laden had nothing to do with Iraq. There was no WMDs in Iraq. There was no threat from Iraq to the United States. We were there for unjust reasons. Back in the 80s, guess who our best friend was? Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of the 9/11 terrorist strikes. Back in the 80s, the United States hated the Soviet Union, hated communism so much that he was our friend. And guess who was our enemy? Nobel Peace Prize winner, Nelson Mandela himself. Nelson Mandela, the man who fought against apartheid in South Africa, was considered a terrorist by the United States. The United States didn't want to end the prejudiced, racist system of apartheid in South Africa. That's the irony here. Here's another situation. Osama bin Laden has been dead now for over, 6 years? In 2011, we assassinated him. Didn't that end the Afghanistan war? Wasn't the main reason to go to Afghanistan was to end Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden? Well, he's dead. Are our troops coming home? Not anytime soon. Just like the cartoon depicts, Uncle Sam with his special operations has just taken out bin Laden. And Lady Liberty's asking him, okay, well, is it time? Can we go home now? And he's saying, I have no intentions of leaving. I never did. The expansion of empire. And Obama is sitting in the front row watching it like a movie on the big screen, eating popcorn as this is happening. So it's this strange situation of our best friends becoming or our allies becoming our enemies, and vice versa. But the ghost of Osama bin Laden still lives on. His ghost actually has become more powerful than the man has been, because Osama bin Laden's mission was to hurt our democracy in the United States, and it has. If you think about it, a lot of our civil rights have been taken away. A lot of our democratic freedom of privacy and speech and other security measures to make us safe have taken away our liberties. So, for instance, the National Defense Authorization Act gives a giant blank check to the Defense Department. It also allows civilians to be detained by the military. And I'm not just saying that civilian Afghanis or civilian Iraqis. I'm talking about including United States civilians to be detained by the military. These kinds of issues are happening as we speak, right? Our liberties are being taken down because this fear that has been portrayed amongst us. And not only these liberties of privacy have been taken away, but also we have become desensitized and we don't even care anymore. A lot of us just go along our days swiping our cell phones, not caring how much the NSA knows about us. And the NSA does know a lot about us. They know all kinds of information about us. And I'm not even talking about spying. If you go, I'm sure everyone here is on Facebook. Do you realize Facebook is a giant questionnaire that tells everything about you, that you fill out every day and tells you more and more information to whoever, private companies and the government? The Trump administration actually was smart enough to use all the information that the Facebook users were putting out to determine who he was going to post specific media messages to actually gain him more popularity in his campaign. And these issues have been going on for a long time. If you think about the fear of losing your privacy, and then some people often tell me, you know what, I don't care if I lose my privacy. I have nothing to hide. The government can know all they want about me. I'm not a terrorist. I want you to think about that, because that's a very selfish quote. That's a very selfish thing to be thinking, because if it wasn't for people who had secrets, who hid from the authorities, who were contrary to the government, we would not have the civil liberties we have today. If it wasn't for Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, people, these activists, where they had secrets, they were hiding from the government, then they wouldn't have, we would still be using the bathroom in colored segregated toilets. So we have to understand that our civil liberties, our privacy is super important, because we have to counter the government who's trying to oppress us. The United States has always had a thumb on our backs, and it wasn't for the people who were agitating that the thumb finally released, well, partially released, I want to say. For instance, you can be incarcerated for your political beliefs. This is one of the tragic stories I've heard of. During Black History Month, I created this political cartoon about Herman Wallace. Herman Wallace was incarcerated back in the 70s. He became a Black Panther actually inside the penitentiary. Because of that, he was persecuted. He was actually framed for a killing and served 42 years in solitary confinement. I want you to understand the perspective I'm giving you in that drawing, because that's what he lived in for 42 years. There's nothing in that little room. There's a toilet to piss in and there's a little bench to sleep on, and that's it. He lived in there for 42 years because of his activist and political beliefs. And the government is powerful. The government can do this to any one of us. Now, I thought it was super ironic and super strange that President Obama in his second term would put his right hand on Dr. Martin Luther King's Bible and swear to uphold the office of the United States. Dr. Martin Luther King would be flipping in his grave if he understood who he was putting his hand on that Bible, because President Obama has continued foreign wars of Iraq, Afghanistan, and including these new equipment of drone warfare that has exploded, has become bigger and more dangerous than ever. And this is kind of a meta picture of me mocking President Obama trying to hand off the Bible, like take this. I'm trying to spy or take out this cartoonist. And if you notice, I'm actually drawing the same drawing on a little piece of paper. I don't know if you can tell by the lighting or not. But it was just ironic of Obama to be doing that with Martin Luther King's Bible. So these drones, people can't understand what drone warfare is today, because we live in such a peaceful, rose-colored society here in the United States in comparison to all these other countries. Imagine if you walk down the street and there's just a bomb comes out of the sky and blows up right next to you. This kind of situation, people in Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq, they live with daily. This is their daily lives. Just like the cartoon, their death follows them everywhere, and they don't know when it's going to come or where it's going to come. It's almost like the United States has become this new religion that we have to appease and bow down to. You can't say bad things to again, or fire or brimstone will rain upon you, like the biblical quotations to talk about. But this is what's happening, and to Uncle Sam, it's a video game. And as you can see in the little bubble in the far left, he's there in the safety of home there in Colorado, while meanwhile these drones are flying over Afghanistan and killing people mercilessly. I drew this cartoon right after there was a big controversy over an Al-Qaeda YouTube video of a beheading. Now I want you to understand, is there truly a difference of a beheading or being blown to a million pieces? Either way, you're dead. The United States has already killed over 24,000 civilians using these drone weapons of mass destruction, thanks to the United States Air Force. And I situate the drone as a beheading because I want you to understand, if the United States are killing people mercilessly, they might not be doing it with a sword, but with a missile it's just as fatal, just as tragic to these people. It's a terrible situation. And this is an old cartoon, so this number is probably boosted up quite a bit since then. And then I want you to think about, if your country is being blown to smithereens, if you constantly live in fear of being scorched from the heavens, would you not want to be there? Wouldn't you want to seek a better place, a better home? Actually, the United States has allies in these other countries that we're involved in. Afghanistan, Iraq, you know who's helping us fight these other Taliban or these other ISIS? The natives of these countries, right? These natives think, oh, we'll help the United States out, they'll help us out. It's kind of dangerous here. Hey, Uncle Sam, do you mind if I move to the United States? And Uncle Sam laughs in their face and says, no way. That's what's happening right now. We're betraying these people. They're being loyal to us, they're helping us out, we're fighting alongside them, and then when it comes down to it, we leave them high and dry, hanging for ISIS to come back inside the country and destroy them. This is a tragic situation in the Middle East. Now, I often show this cartoon to younger ages because I don't think they remember what Gizmo is. Do people remember what Gizmo is, Guantanamo Bay? Hopefully everyone knows what Guantanamo Bay is. I often show this to them, they can't remember. Which proves this cartoon actually right, because Uncle Sam's just saying, just leave it alone. If you don't bother it, no one's gonna, no one's gonna notice it anymore. So this ugly facial zit right on the face of Lady Liberty, and she's poking it. She's like, what is this disgusting thing on my face? And Uncle Sam just telling, no, ignore it. No one's gonna notice. Just quit picking at it. Well, I want to pick at it. I want people to remember this ugly blemish that's on the face of Lady Liberty. And hopefully that you will not forget it, and hopefully other people will not forget it, because it's not been in the media at all. And there's still prisoners in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I think there's still like 41 prisoners still detained there without trial, right? Remember the National National Defense Authorization Act. These people do not get a trial. You're detained indefinitely. You will not get your word in court. So they can't prove you innocent, they can't prove you guilty, so they're just going to hold on to you till you die. And unfortunately, a lot of these Guantanamo Bay prisoners have tried to commit suicide to relieve the pain of being detained for 8 years without trial. The irony is, it's on Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, on a foreign nation. And the United States is always sticking the finger at the Castros, saying, oh, you're so terrible with your political dissidents, you imprison them. And we have political dissidents here in the United States. There's plenty of political prisoners that are still incarcerated since the 1970s, since the Civil Rights Movement. Another big issue, the involvement of Russia's tampering with our democracy. Oh, we can't believe a foreign nation did this to us. Well, the rest of the world is laughing their butts off because we've been doing to the rest of the world since forever. Since the United States has been a country we've been manipulating economically and politically into other nations. If you think about Chile, for instance, with Allende, CIA had him assassinated to put in place a right-wing dictator. If you think of the first democratically elected president in Iran, the United States didn't want him took him out. CIA put in someone of his other favorable to the United States, and then inevitably they kicked us in the ass again because Iran's on our top list of enemies of the United States. So it's just ironic that we're so crying that someone's been involved in our democracy. Again, involvement in other countries. In El Salvador, we've been involved in that country, manipulating their elections, their different authoritative dictatorships, training their military forces here in the United States at Fort Benning, Georgia, at the School of the Americas, where we serve different military units from all over the world to help them train in various ways, and then send them back to their countries to be used against their people as oppressive, authoritarian despots. And this is what happened with Archbishop Oscar Romero. Oscar Romero was fighting against the oppressive situation that was happening there, and blood is on our hands, on all of our hands. We all pay taxes, right? Hopefully we all pay taxes. All of our taxes goes to the school, to places like the School of the Americas, who fund people who kill other people. Oscar Romero is now going to be sanctified as a saint, and we were responsible for his death. I want you to think about that. Another big part of colonialism, manipulating other countries. Our own citizens, we manipulate them and try to destroy them. Puerto Ricans are United States citizens. They're not a foreign nation. They might be an island, they might be part of the mainland, but they're our countrymen, United States citizens. They've been part of the United States in the 1890s, during the Spanish-American War. And we've been manipulating that little territory for a long time, right? The big business corporations in the United States were putting many different industries in that little island because they had tax breaks, and they also had environmental regulations that they didn't have in the mainland. So the United States put all these factories there and then took them out and then left the country in bankruptcy. Terrible situation happening in Puerto Rico. I want you to notice some figures here. I want you to get some dollars amount of where all your tax dollars are going. The occupation of Iraq per year, $87.6 billion a year. The occupation of Afghanistan, $42.2 billion per year. This was during when we were bombing Libya. Libyan intervention, we used up $600 million in the first week. Our tax dollars, all of our tax dollars are going to blow up other countries. Instead of building schools and infrastructure and all the things that we need, the necessities here in the United States, they're just being wasted. They're literally being burned off in some foreign country. In Israel alone, Israel, which has an apartheid on the Palestinian people, I want you to understand, this is a government who is oppressing another population that has an apartheid with the Palestinian people, that takes more and more of their land every month, which the UN condemns, right, which is against the United Nations law. We give them $3 billion annually in military and other kinds of supportive measures for them to oppress another people, for their nation to build and create bigger and bigger structures on other people's lands. That's our tax dollars. That's blood money, literally, that Uncle Sam cannot wash off, that we must be aware of and we should be ashamed of, and we need to start speaking more and more about. This is horrible. Now let's go south of the border. Let's go with our brothers, our friends down south of the border. A tragic issue of the 43. If you haven't heard about the Otsinapa 43, please be aware of it. This is a tragic situation of 43 students who were future teachers who went missing all of a sudden. No one knows what happened to them. The governor doesn't know what happened to them. The feds don't know what happened to them. They say there's links to the nautical traffickers. They just went missing. How could 43 people go missing? It's bizarre. No one knows anything. So when I do cartoons of Mexico, I try to use most famous and actually ancient symbol of the eagle and the serpent, which is an Aztec symbol, and now portrayed it as a partnership between the government, eagle, and the snake, the serpent. And they're comrades in arms, and they do things together. And here the snake and the serpent are the Mexican government and the narco, and they're having a jam session with the United States because they're all in it together. They're all having this dance, right? The United States is the biggest consumer of narcotics in the world. All of 90% of the narcotics that are coming from South America go straight up north to the United States for our consumption. I want you to think about that next time you guys are your little joyride for the weekend, because this is a sick problem. This is a very sick problem, and it leads to tragic deaths south of the border. This is our people. I'm in the middle of a Mexican community here in the heart of Pilsen. Those are our people that are dying down there for our little joyride up north. Let's think about that next time your friends want to have a party or something like that. But here, the two eagles are dancing around the 43. This was a very specific issue that didn't get covered in the media. This is Maria Santos Garcia, and it was a tragic situation. I'm going to read it. Having survived two previous assassinations that killed her husband, Mayor Garcia of Texcoco, Mexico, was found tortured and mutilated for her persistent defiance of local drug lords. She had been tried to be assassinated twice. Now, meanwhile, up north, at that same moment, the Chi Omegas were partying on YouTube, making YouTube videos saying, "Thank you, Mexico, for all your drugs." I couldn't understand the mentality of the United States and people up north to be so insensitive about their parties and where their parties come from. It was disgusting, so I wanted to capture both those elements at the same time. Again, the bald eagle and the golden eagle of Mexico with the little serpent on his shoulder. And the little serpent, if you notice, he's actually lighting up a joint for the bald eagle to smoke, right? Because they're in cahoots. They're in partnership together. This is at the same time where Mexico's drug wars have been super violent. But it was also the same time where more and more of our authorities here in the United States, our police officers, were shooting people of color in the streets. So birds of a feather, right? They're working the same situation up north and down south, are doing the same thing to their own people, gunning them down on the streets. Horrible situation. The understanding of our impact on the rest of the world is tremendous. I don't think people understand how big the United States has on the rest of the world. Because of our foreign policies, because of what we do to these foreign countries has impact on why things happen the way they do. People are always crying, why are these immigrants coming here? How come they don't just stay home? Well, if you understand our foreign policy, then you'll know good and well what's exactly happening. If you understand if our foreign policy promotes coup d'etats, if it promotes puppet regimes, if it promotes different gang violence in other countries, then you would understand why these people are fleeing and why they're coming to the United States, because it's a more stable place to live. It's a safer place to live. And as you can see here, these immigrants, they're fleeing from destabilization. They're fleeing from the bombs and the chaos of their home. No one wants to leave their home. No one wants to leave their home. These people are forced to leave their home. And let's look back in history. That border was there for centuries. The border is a new political situation that's relatively new. For centuries, there is no border there. There are already people coming back and forth for ages. Now, at one point, in 1848, the United States put a line there and said, you beaners are now part of the United States and you other beaners can't come in, but we're all beaners. That's the irony here. I got this picture, or this depiction, when I was actually helping my mom sort beans. And I said, well, what's the matter with those beans? Oh, you can't put those beans in the pot. You need only these good beans. What do you mean? They're all beings. That's what I didn't understand. I didn't understand why, the United States not only severed people geographically, but they also severed people psychologically, right? You have to understand that. The Chicanos and the Mexicanos are not a different people. They're the same people. They've just been severed by political situations. MS-13. People always think of MS-13. They say, oh yeah, that's a terrible gang there in El Salvador. Do you realize that MS-13 is a United States creation? The United States incarcerated Salvadoreños in the they were immigrants. They happened to be fleeing the chaos of El Salvador, because I was speaking about earlier. They came to the United States. They were immigrants. Maybe some of them got in trouble. A couple of them went to prison. Inside the United States prisons, the Salvadorians they needed to unite. They were foreigners in a foreign land. And they started to create the MS-13, the Mara Travasuche gang in the United States. The United States realizes there's this new gang population of immigrants in the United States prison system. They decide to deport them to El Salvador. And that's when the MS-13 gang erupted in El Salvador, became what it is today in that country. It was an export of the United States. The irony, again, it's always ironic, right? The irony of deportations of immigrants depletes the economic backbone of the United States. The United States runs on the backs of low-wages slave labor, thanks to undocumented people coming here trying to change their lives. The United States strives on that. That's how the economy runs here. And these new anti-immigration laws, these new laws against undocumented, it's only biting the economies that are making these laws, biting themselves in the butt. For instance, this was a law that was in Alabama to get out all those undocumented workers, because this was during the economic crisis. And we need to give these jobs to the people who deserve them, who live here. Let's get rid of these undocumented. Meanwhile, let me be quiet. I want to show you this. They said, get rid of these undocumented. They're stealing our jobs. The undocumented fled to Alabama. They didn't want to be deported. And then there was all these great opportunities for the United States citizens to take all these jobs, and guess what happened? They sat on the couch, and they didn't want to go. They didn't want to go to to do the menial jobs, what the undocumented would do. And the economy struggled, and it hurt because of that, right? Now, meanwhile, the ICE, immigration customs enforcement, they're heartless. They're a heartless bunch of people breaking these families apart. And as you can see here, Lady Liberty, I often use Lady Liberty and Uncle Sam as the two opposing mentalities in the United States. Lady Liberty is more the liberal side, and Uncle Sam is more the right-wing side. But I thought Lady Liberty should be presented here, because she's contradicting everything that the United States is based on. It's supposed to be open arms to all the immigrants. She's supposed to be the first thing you see when you come to the United States. And here, she's portrayed as something totally opposite. She's actually creating a wall. She's severing a family of people together as an older person's on one side and the younger child's down below. This was a time period where a lot of undocumented kids were coming more and more across the border. And I want you to understand, this is a scam. The deportation of people is a scam. It's all about money. The private prison industry is booming. 65% of the cases where undocumented are detained are not run by government run facilities. These are private corporations who get funds, who get money, who profit off of deporting and incarcerating undocumented people. So ICE is in cahoots with the private prison industry. ICE is throwing them literally into the fat cat's mouth where they make their money. And to boot, the private industry, they don't need to pay workers to facilitate these private prisons, because you know who does the labor? The undocumented people do the labor, and they don't get paid jack. They do the labor inside the prison system. It's a scam. Again, Lady Liberty, portrayed here as La Llorona, right? This is again when a couple of years ago, when there was this mass wave of undocumented kids coming across the border, fleeing the stabilization of Latin America, Central America, and La Llorona is here waiting for them, right? Immigration. Mis hijos, he's ready to take them away as soon as they cross the river. Just like the old fable of La Llorona, right? Looking for her kids there on the ditch bank, waiting to take them away. This is what's happening in the United States. Lady Liberty isn't welcoming you with open arms anymore. She's literally with claws, a threatening figure to either scare you away, to prevent you to come to the United States, or to get you, to incarcerate you, and to put you in these little mini prisons, these private prisons. If the right wing, it's not just the Republicans. It's a mentality that goes far right. If these born-again Christians only truly read the Bible, if they really only understood what Jesus was actually saying, they would slap themselves. Jesus Christ, he's literally pointing to the Bible and saying, you know what? What you're talking about is exactly the opposite of what I preach. Love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. All these undocumented kids, the right-wingers, were always saying, oh, those undocumented kids, we need to get them out of here. We need to take them back to where they came from. How un-Christ-like, how un-Christian can you be to not welcome in arms a child? No matter where they're from, if they're in need, if they're threatened, if they're fleeing from a place, you would want to comfort them. That's the biggest thing that equates to Christ, right? And then all these anti-abortionists, these right-wing anti-abortionists. Yo, we gotta stop the abortion, stop Planned Parenthood, stop having all these kids. Yeah, and then if you stop Planned Parenthood, then there's going to be kids. And then you're going to be crying about, oh, no, we have all these kids on welfare, all these families on welfare, so it's like a no-win situation. Planned Parenthood are necessities for women's rights, to have the ability to control their own lives, their own destinies. And it's funny that the right-wingers were always anti-abortionists, but they don't give a darn about any kind of child being born on the other side of the border, right? If you're a fetus born on this side of the border, you're protected, but if you're a fetus on the other side of the border, then to hell with you. That's the irony of the Christian right. And at the same time, President Obama, right, at the same time when all these different waves of children were fleeing the chaos of the other side of the border, there was different mass shootings going on in the United States. Specifically the Sandy Hook massacre, where a bunch of tiny little kindergartens were massacred at a public school. Obama went on this big speech crying about these kids. At the same time, the what do they call them? The reporter in chief didn't give a darn about these other kids that their lives were being threatened. He literally pushed them back across the border, back into the gangs, back into the violence, back into the mouth, back into the teeth of these different violent places where they came from. And the Latinos, we have to realize we're being manipulated. More and more of us are dying for no reason. Instead of concentrating on the struggles that should be fought here in the United States, we're out dying in some foreign country for no damn reason. This is a cartoon I had made about many different Latinos who sacrificed their lives fighting for this country, and then they come back and then they get told that what? That they're not true Americans, that they're immigrants, that they're something else. They're not part of the true Americana, right? And as you can see here, I have Uncle Sam giving a family their United States flag. He's they're translating in Spanish because the family might not even speak English, right? I witnessed this. I witnessed when I joined the military. I knew plenty of soldiers that didn't even speak English that good, but they served, thinking that they would get citizenship, thinking that they'd be considered, true Americans or live the American dream. I want you to understand an important person right now who's a Chicagoan, Private First Class Miguel Perez, Green Beret Special Forces, 2 tours overseas in Afghanistan, undocumented, is now detained and is about to be deported. A Chicagoan, he spent his whole life here in Chicago. He said, I'm going to go defend my country. He came back, got into a little trouble, but veterans are all getting in trouble in the United States for coming back from wars. And he's been pointed out, he's been specifically spotted out because he's a document. There is a tragic situation of people, Latinos, going into the military because these recruiters are like car salesmen, telling you, making you believe that you're going to get all this money for school, all these different things, and then they come back and they find things that are very different, right? There is in Tijuana, Mexico, there is actually a little commune of United States veterans who have been deported. They live in a little commune on the other side of the border because the United States has kicked them out because they didn't consider them loyal to the United States anymore. And it's a tragic issue. It's dealing with mental issues, it's dealing with substance abuse, it's dealing with all these different tragedies. When you come back from war, you're a changed person. You have all this baggage of trauma, of being in battle. So it's difficult to come back to civilian life. The one way we can stop veterans from being harmed overseas is to not have wars, is to stop putting people in place that promote. If you really want to help veterans, if you really want to support veterans, don't send them to war. That's the easiest way I can tell you. There's all these different situations where people, when veterans are coming back to the United States, they have high rates of divorce, they have different alcoholism, drug addictions, the employment. It's hard for them to find jobs in the civilian world, and suicide. I want to give you a disgusting statistic right here. It is said 20 veterans a day commit suicide. 20 veterans a day. That is unbelievable. There's more veterans dying in the United States than in Iraq right now. They're killing themselves. It's not even done by a foreign enemy. We're killing ourselves. So what is happening? What is happening with these veterans? What are they doing in the overseas that makes them come back to this? That's tragic. That's tragic. If you want to save veterans, if you want to help them out, do not send them away. Do not send them to war. This is what we live in. This is our society. We live in this nest. We live in this nest built of weapons. We've become a weaponized nation. Everywhere there's guns. On the streets, either by and these guns are tragic. Tragic massacres happen every year due to firearms. Not only from lunatics with semi-automatics, but also by our officials, by the police. They're gunning down our own people as well. We live in this nest. If you want to see this nest actually live, I just recreated a three-dimensional model at Hyde Park Art Center. I encourage you guys to go read it down there. It's going to be open this weekend. Nice time to be like self-promotion of another. But I want you to understand that we live inside this nest. And who banks off of this tragic situation here in the United States? The arms dealers. No one ever accuses them of being part of the problem. It's always, oh yeah, but he had mental issues. Of course he killed everyone. Well, it was the terrorist. He was able to get guns and he killed everyone. But who gave him the guns? Where did the guns come from? They're manufactured right here in the United States. They're big bucks. Arms dealers are making a literal killing off of our tragic situation of the United States. And right here I have death. nudging at the fat cat. I often use the fat cat as this oligarch, as a person of money, right? And he's like, shh, be quiet, don't say anything. Don't tell anyone I'm making a profit off of all these weapons. And meanwhile, the media is somewhere else. It's being distracted. It's being distracted, not by the person who actually did the murder. In the United States, we're so concerned about foreigners. We're so concerned about the other. We're so scared. We're locking ourselves inside our own little house. We're boarding up the walls. And we don't care who we give guns to, right? Over here we have Uncle Sam saying, you know what, we gotta defend ourselves. And he's handing literally a gun to a KKK. Because the United States doesn't care who they're giving the weapons to. They want us to be a fortified nation who lives in fear and kills each other, right? Their only concern is for you to be fearful of the other, for the people who are on the outside, for the people who don't look like you, for the people who don't speak the same language or pray to the same religion. They want you to be fearful of the other. And Lady Liberty is there. She shouts there. How dare you tell me that you were boarding up the door? One of the sickest combinations, one of the most fatal combinations right now is, of course, mental illness and the abundance of firearms. This is one of the deadliest combinations, and you can see that Uncle Sam's making this deadly concoction right here at the bar, and he's disregarding universal health care. He says, don't forget it. We don't need to help out the mentally ill, or we don't need universal health care. Who cares if those other people don't get well? But this all has a chain reaction. You have to put this in perspective in whole. In our whole society, people with mental issues need help. Everyone needs help. We need universal health care so tragedies like this don't happen. It's a combination of things. We need good gun laws, and we also need good health care to prevent people who do have mental issues to not get their hands on weapons, right? And the issue, I want you to understand this chaos is going on right here at home. The war is right here. It's in the United States. It's not overseas. It's not in Iraq. You don't need to be there. There's nothing there for it. There's no reason for us to be fighting these foreign military campaigns. What do we have to do with Syria? What do we have to do in Afghanistan anymore? What do we have to do in all these different places that our military has a presence? Right now, if you look at it, we're trapped in the middle of all this gun violence right here in the United States. We have lunatics with submachine guns. We have gang violence shooting around us. We have hate speech. We also have our people that were supposed to protect us shooting at us down on the street. All of these bullets flying around us at the same time. The war is right here. If you think about it, all our tax dollars are being wasted instead of fixing the problem here to hurting us here and overseas. It's a combination of things. We're hurting people not only in Palestine, but we're also hurting people in Ferguson. You think about what happened in Ferguson when they killed that man dead on the street, Michael Brown, dead on the street, laid there. The same thing is happening in the Gaza Strip with the Palestinians right now. Those $30 billion annually going to Israel put down the Palestinians, right? Killing poor Palestinians on the street, fighting for the injustice that's going on there with the apartheid. All of our tax dollars, every time, every year, every March. It's not only, I hate doing taxes because it's a lot of paperwork, but it's also because I know where my damn money's going. It's going to violence like this. Another terrible issue that happened not too long ago. Everyone knows what happened to Eric Gardner, choked to death, right, by the authorities, by the police for selling loosies on the street. Eric Gardner, choked to death. Now, did the police officer who choked to death Eric Gardner go to jail or get repercussions or anything happen to him? Nothing happened to him. I want you to know who did get arrested. The person who videotaped the police officer choking Eric Gardner to death. This is Ramsey Orta. Ramsey Orta was the person that happened to have a cell phone handy and filmed this tragic situation. Now they eventually hounded Ramsey until they found something wrong with him legally, and they put him in prison. But he was a marked man because of what he did. That's the injustice that we have here in the United States. And when we talk about the brotherhood of the police forces, okay, I understand not all police are bad. I'm aware of that. I have plenty of primos that are police officers, and I respect them dearly. They're supposed to serve and protect. Serve and protect is their main job here in the community. Now, if you think about it, are they really serving and protecting if they have a code of silence of the brotherhood? Shouldn't they be calling out the bad apples instead of protecting them? They serve us. We do not serve them. We pay their salaries. We pay their tax dollars. The police officers should be pointing out these bad apples and saying, get this idiot out of here. He's about to shoot someone. That's what should be happening. They should not be this code of silence and all this other brotherhood protecting the bad apples. That's the total opposite of what should be happening. The justice system is corrupt. It is working against us. It is working against us. My brother and my wife are both lawyers, and you know what? Neither of them practice law because it's unjust. The justice system is unjust. Modern day, Jim Crow still lives. Jim Crow was abolished back in the 60s in the Civil Rights Movement, but he still exists. Every time a person gets incarcerated, they get branded with a prison tattoo on their forehead for everyone to know that they've been incarcerated. So if they get out of prison, everyone knows that they've been in prison and they're still being persecuted. They're still being oppressed for what they paid their penance to back in the Quinta. But no, it doesn't matter because you have been branded. How hard is it for prisoners to get a job in our society? How hard is it for people to give a person who has been in jail a second chance, to make them feel part of the community instead of someone who has been branded a criminal? Now, our legislation is all screwed up as well. Instead of having more health clinics and rights to women to have protections and freedoms and governments of their own body, legislation at the high up to the local state senators and legislators are the ones dictating how women can activate, how women can choose their own destinies, right? I have here the conservative elephant again holding a switchblade to a doctor because she's threatened for what she can be able to do to give to liberties, her just liberties of health care. Our environment is all screwed up as well. All the different situations that was happening in Standing Rock last year. Native Americans were not allowed to fight for their own land, right? These multi-billion-dollar corporations bringing in this Dakota pipeline that passed right through the Sioux Nation's reservation. These billion-dollar industries that go counter to all these different promises that we had made to Native peoples. These long-term contracts, their promises have always been broken to Native peoples. Meanwhile, everyone's being distracted with all the different political news of the campaigns that are happening. It's not only Native Americans' water sources that are threatened, but it's everyone's water sources that are threatened. If you think about Flint, Michigan, their state politicians actually poison the civilians. They poison their own city. They flipped the switch and started pumping in manure into their own freshwater pipes, and they poisoned the whole reservoir in Flint, Michigan. And then Nestle, the corporation, has free rights to bottle fresh water from Lake Michigan and has a contract to sell this fresh water to Flint, Michigan, because their water is poison. It's all a big movida. It's all a big scam. It's this corruption at its worst. And this is the basic life source of all of us, fresh water. We live right next to the fresh water of Lake Michigan, and we don't realize, even in our pipes here in Chicago, that our water is getting more and more contaminated with lead. Student debt is literally like a tattoo you're given right after you graduate. There is enormous amounts of students that cannot go to college. They can't even enter college. They don't have enough money. And then once they get into college, they're sworn, sign their blood, their life away to these private loan companies that they'll be paying off for the rest of their lives. Especially if you go into these high-priced schools like the Schoolyard Institute, you'll be paying the rest of your. Do you know Schoolyard Institute is one of the most expensive schools in the United States? One of the most expensive. If you're an art student, how are you gonna pay back that giant ass loan? You're not. You're just gonna live the rest of your life with debt. It's outrageous. Rahm Emanuel, horrible mayor. Like I've been jabbing a lot on the Republican conservatives, but Rahm Emanuel's a Democrat. I don't want you to get the idea that I'm not hitting the Democrats either, because I think they're the same. Republicans and Democrats are like Burger King and McDonald's to me. So Rahm Emanuel has been sitting on, before Rahm Emanuel got his second election, I want you to understand that he sat on the video shooting of Laquan McDonald, thank you, Laquan McDonald. He sat on that video. He had it in his possession and did not want to release it publicly because he knew it would ruin his fight for the election against Garcia. And not until after he got elected did this video come out, right? Oh, what a coincidence. The secret prisons at Hogan Square, all kinds of corruption going on with the African American community and Rahm Emanuel. Danny Solis is not only the alderman of this board, but he's also the chairman of the zoning commission that allows different places to be zoned. So if you wonder why there's a bar across the street from Benito Juarez, now you know, because Danny Solis gave him the permit. He zoned it for that bar to be 10 feet away from a public school, which is always known to be a big no-no, not only consciously, but also legally. And here he is zoning factories and all kinds of other stuff for fat cats to give luxury apartments to this upper class that's now moving in and pushing out, literally, as you can see, the fat cat storming out to give, crushing all these other different populations. Casa Aztlan, everyone's been talking about Casa Aztlan and what's been happening with the whole situation. The Casa Aztlan has been around since the 1970s, but activists took over it and made it what it was, made it its own space, because there was no spaces like it before. They didn't have, the Mexican community here didn't have a place for performers, for galleries, for studios, so they had to make their own, and that's what Casa Aztlan was. And then it was beautiful. They had it painted by a mural from Patlan to Raya, and I know even Raul Valadez painted parts of it. And unfortunately, it was bought off, and just last month it was whitewashed over. But I want you to understand, there's still places like Casa Aztlan that exist, and we should not let them be threatened again. The National Museum of Mexican Art is one of those institutions that's right here in the heart of Pilsen, and we have to do everything that we can to make sure we don't lose institutions like that again. Jose Guerrero is one of the, he used to be a mural historian, used to walk these streets and do mural tours. He was a known printmaker. I wanted to make sure I got a cartoon of him in here because he's no longer with us. He passed away in 2015. He was an intricate part of Pilsen, and he's missing dearly. not only are our historians or our loved ones disappearing, but also our cultural institutions. We can't let this continue. We have to remember these people. We have to keep their memories alive. That's another important thing, that we should not forget Qatar's life. It might be gone physically, but it's still with us in our hearts. We can't let it we can't let Jose Guerrero be forgotten. We can't let these other things be forgotten. I've given you 59 political cartoons and I haven't showed you Trump yet. I want you to understand, all these political cartoons have been created prior to Trump. Trump is not the villain here. It is the United States. The United States has been doing this to us since the United States has become a nation. Since the 17th century, 1776, when the United States had become a nation, it was always oppressing people. First the indigenous people, then the black African slaves, and then they took over Mexico. Trump is just exposing what has always been there. Trump is just exposing what has always been there. Racism has always been there. Oppression has always been there. Trump is merely exposing it. He's merely just showing it off to you. Because it's been a tattoo on our legacy for centuries. Thank you. 60 cartoons, 60 minutes. Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No questions, please. No questions, please. I cannot talk anymore. My voice is going.